So, am I running out of time? Or?
You can kind of do what you need and kind of wrap up.
Oh, okay. Well, that's the principles. I'll kind of just go through this quickly. That's a swale. That's at my garden, and that's some of my bamboo. That's the catalyst. So the idea here is when it rains, the swell's an uncontoured trench. It collects that water. It sinks it into the ground. It also goes up into that berm those plants are growing on. So they make use of it every time it rains. This is one of the most important things you can do in a landscape because water is the universal solvent. We spend a lot of time irrigating. That's kind of a depiction of a swale. This is it again at my property here after a rain. This is about 2 feet deep in here. All this water, rather than running off my land, is being caught and being used by my trees and the plants that I'm growing in my garden, in my food forest. This was roughly 2013. I have a swale marked off here. That's me digging it. This is a tool that I made out of a piece of an Airstream trailer, a broomstick, and another piece of wood I had laying around it. This is an ancient tool called an A-frame level. And that's what you use for putting your swell on contour. Because if it's not on contour, the water will run off to whatever side. There's the swell in the early days, showing it full of water. This is a little bit further. This part here was, I elongated it for controlling bamboo. This is at Lynn's, actually. I did a series of swales. These are blueberries. She has a pretty bad slope, upwards of 30 degrees. And you can see the Bermuda grass that I'm dealing with. So, because these blueberries are just, they were ate up with Bermuda grass all around. So we can see, this is from the bottom looking up, this is the back of Lynn's house. Filled the trench with mini pine bark nuggets. Then I used newspaper for some sheet mulching and used from Southern Mulch, their gardener's choice. There's some sheet mulching I'm doing. I'm just trying to fight the Bermuda back. Then I overseeded with clover and rye grain. Again, this is hugelculture. So the idea is you take wood, you bury wood. When it rains, the water percolates down into the ground, into the wood. The wood absorbs the water. I've dug into hugel beds. I've got 8 of them, I think, at my house. I've dug into hugel beds, into the logs this big, and grabbed them with my hands and pulled wood out like a sponge and squeezed it in my hand and squeezed water out. And I've seen the plant roots go into the wood. So it's an irrigation-free way of growing because anything growing on top of that can put roots down into the wood where there's a store of below-ground water that stays there. And all plants like it because if it's too much water, they grow around it. If they want the water, they grow into it. It's really brilliant. And this man, Permaculture, I was telling you about, he's responsible for this technique. There's some that I've done. That's a hugel spiral. You can see it over the stages there. I used rye grain. This was a couple years ago. And then here, I actually dug down about 4 feet and done some pit composting. This is a much larger hugel spiral I did, and this was with my last partner for Ancient Earth Design before I went out on my own. And we did this, and this is in Weaverville. And that thing was a massive hugel spiral. That's me standing on top of it. That's it from the ground. That's near completion. We overseeded that, several different cover crops. These are some of my hugel beds at home. I got trees growing. This is the first year. I got trees growing on the edges. I've now got hazelnuts growing in here. I've got a plethora of plants. And then this is mushroom logs. So this is a way of using wood. I don't know if you've heard of it. You drill a hole in the log. You inoculate it with, it's basically sawdust that's been inoculated with spores. You put it in, you cover it with a wax, and then you got any kind of mushroom you want. I don't know, mushrooms get pretty expensive at the grocery store. You can make a lot of money with like reishi mushrooms, some medicinal. There's now a market for medicinal Eastern mushrooms. And then this is kind of other things you can do. It's kind of limited. Okay, and this is the last slide, by the way. This is the 7 domains of permaculture. This is called the permaculture flower. So you can see the ethics and design principles in the center. That's what we just covered. And you can see it spiraling out into all these domains. Education and culture, health and spiritual well-being, finances and economics, land tenure and community governance, land and nature stewardship, building, tools and technology, We can take those 12 principles and apply it to every last one of those domains. And that's what permaculture seeks to do. And with that, it's the end of my presentation.
You'll have plenty of time if you would like to talk to Aaron after this, while you pass knowledge of permaculture. We appreciate you sharing that with us today. Let's just give one round of hand. That was very good.